Bethesda has been very busy in 2016. Doom came out in May, Skyrim Special Edition is releasing tomorrow, Dishonored 2 comes out in November, and we've been enjoying Fallout 4 DLC all year long. Unfortunately, Bethesda took a blatantly anti-consumer position on their review policy, and that seems to overshadow all of these accomplishments. Hey guys, JV here sharing my thoughts on Bethesda's review policy for the media. If you don't know what I'm talking about, I'll go ahead and summarize what's going on right now. I've also left a link to the post on Bethesda.net in the description below for your reference. Actually, before we begin, I think it's important to fully disclose my professional working relationship with Bethesda. I've been creating Fallout 4 related content over the past year. I started making these videos a little before the launch of Fallout 4, and I had no previous relationship with Bethesda. For example, I did not receive a review copy for Fallout 4 because I hadn't approached them before that point, nor would I have been able to probably at that point either. I reached out to Bethesda sometime after launch, I can't remember exactly, and I made a connection for the purpose of reviewing future content from that publisher. Because of that connection, I received a review copy for Skyrim Special Edition, and I will get one for Dishonored 2 around release time. That is the full extent of my professional working relationship with Bethesda. I have never accepted money from Bethesda to cover anything, do anything, or say anything about any of their games. I think that's pretty clear for a lot of you watching my videos. You know what kind of person I am, and you know that's just not something I would do. And so I just wanted to reaffirm that, let you guys know what's going on, and just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page with how I fit into this. On to the review policy. Essentially, this post on Bethesda.net reaffirms their policy of sending media review copies one day before release. They remind us that this is what they did with Doom, and this is what they plan to do with Skyrim. Of course, it's already a day before, so, every reviewer should have it by now, and that's what they plan to do with Dishonored 2 coming out in November. Moving forward, Bethesda plans to continue working with media, streamers, and YouTubers to support their coverage. They claim that the policy did not affect the outcome of scores for Doom, as it was both a critical and commercial hit. If you don't remember, there was a lot of controversy surrounding Doom since review copies were not sent to media until the day before release, so that's what they're referring to. They go on to further justify their position, claiming that they just want everyone to experience their games at the same time. So some of you may be watching this and thinking, okay, what's wrong with this? A company is making a business decision for its own self-interest, and that makes sense, right? And the reason this might be especially in their own self-interest is the recent events that could have influences, maybe or maybe not. But of course, we've had the fiasco with PS4 mods being promised and then delayed for Fallout 4. It could be the low opinions of all of Fallout 4's Workshop DLC, that could be a factor as well. Maybe it's the fact that people don't want to pay $60 for a remastered version of Skyrim. Regardless of why Bethesda is making this decision, all of this stuff has been talked about. I'm talking with you about it now because this has been prevalent in our community. It's stuff that we care about. While this is a business decision, it's inherently anti-consumer. That is absolutely true in this situation, and it doesn't matter what justification Bethesda has for this policy. The best way to clearly explain why this is bad for you as the consumer is to describe it through what I'm going to call a trickle-down effect. Starting from the top, we have companies, Bethesda and whatever media outlet wants to cover their games. Below both of them is the consumer. Bethesda is trying to sell their product to the consumer. That is their goal. Media also has a goal. They want clicks, they want views, they want ad revenue. They also provide information to the consumer that is independent from the developer and the publisher. No matter how corrupt you might think gaming journalism is or media outlets are, there is someone out there who is legitimately reviewing things and putting up their honest opinions. This process between company, business that's trying to sell something, and media who is providing information to the consumer has been going on for a really long time. I'm no historian, I can't tell you when this first started happening, but this is an established trend in almost every single industry. So with that in mind, Bethesda decides to say, okay, media outlets, you're not going to get to see our games for the purpose of reviewing and sharing your thoughts with consumers until one day before release. As a result, this is what happens. Media outlets rush out their reviews. They play as quickly as possible and they try to get their opinions up first because that means they'll get viewership, clicks, whatever it may be. Media cannot share their opinions in a timely manner, and this really disrupts the process. It's not something that the consumer sees days, but it absolutely goes on. Because of this, consumers can't read reviews before release because they don't exist, and they have to wait several days because the game is not in the media outlet's hands until 1 day before release. That forces consumers to make a purchase decision to buy the game or not buy the game based purely, almost entirely on what Bethesda themselves have put out. And remember, Bethesda is trying to sell you their game. They are not an independent media outlet. Again, regardless of how corrupt you might think gaming journalism is, people exist out there for the sole purpose of giving you their honest opinion on the game. They don't take money, they are not paid for reviews. So this decision forces consumers to make that purchase decision, and also they know, Bethesda knows, that fans of their games will go out and buy the games anyway. That's true about any established IP or anything in this industry. However, they are removing the possibility of a negative review changing their minds. I can tell you, I'm the first to admit that I will probably go out and buy the next Fallout and the next Elder Scrolls regardless of what reviews say. I want to play it, but I'm not everyone, and there's a lot of people out there that would appreciate this information to help them make a decision to buy the game or not. It is so important to grasp the point here that Bethesda is actively preventing media outlets from reviewing their games and having those opinions out before the release of their game. This is bad for everyone involved except for Bethesda. The media suffers because the media doesn't exist without consumers, and consumers suffer because they don't have information they need. What I really don't get is there is a clear alternative here. There is a clear solution that is best for everyone involved, and it's an embargo for reviews. From my personal experience, this is how that process goes. So the developer, the publisher, whoever distributes the game sends the game out to media a little bit before launch, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. They also give you an embargo date, which is a date and time where you can't post any of your thoughts, share anything about the game before that point, and that date is mostly across the board. Sometimes there's exclusives for certain, media outlets, but mostly there is one embargo date. In that 1 to 2 weeks, reviewers have a lot of time to play the game, really process what's going on, write their review. It's not rushed, and they have a full review out on their site on the embargo date before release. These reviews give consumers that information they need to make a purchase decision. Do I buy the game or do I not buy the game based on this independent media outlet? And in that process, Bethesda doesn't come off as trying to hide what's really going on with their product or trying to withhold information that the buyer needs. That's how review embargoes work, and they've worked for a lot of other companies over several years now, and this is really just puzzling to me. A lot of you will think if they're confident in their product, then it shouldn't matter. They shouldn't be worried about having reviews out before release. Well, if that's true and logical, then someone needs to wake up Bethesda because they seem to be confused, because actively withholding valuable information through reviews that helps the consumer make that purchase decision is a clear demonstration of their lack of confidence. It doesn't matter what Bethesda thinks this will do internally, this on the outside looks like a clear demonstration that they are not confident in their product. If the game could stand on its own, then they shouldn't need to withhold information like this, and this is them actively doing that. And the whole "since Doom worked, we're doing this again, since clearly that wasn't an issue" is not a real justification for this decision. Doom being good or bad doesn't mean that Dishonored 2 will be good or bad, doesn't matter which publisher you are. Only a few developers and publishers have maintained a gold standard throughout their existence consistently. Most of them have ups and downs. Bethesda is saying, hey, since we actively blocked reviews on our other product and that turned out well, you should continue to trust us because we're confident in our other products. Just because Bethesda is confident in their games that they're putting out doesn't mean I am, it doesn't mean you should be. Again, they're trying to sell you the game. It is very clear to me that Bethesda does not want negative reviews for their games before they come out. And they are willing to sacrifice all of the praise that might come from those reviews just because they are so scared about the possibility of negative reviews. And because of that, they are actively withholding information from the consumer by blocking reviewers from reviewing their products before they come out. They are choosing not to take the clear alternative that works for everyone through review embargoes because they are scared. And you know what, Bethesda, you should be now, because expect to be labeled anti-consumer until you update this policy. This does not work. However, embargo dates have always worked and there's no reason not to do them. I'd like to know, does this affect your view of Bethesda as a publisher? Again, not the developer that makes Skyrim and Fallout, but the publisher. In my position, it certainly does. But again, I have a bias in that I share my thoughts with all of you for a living. I am the media. I'd love to hear what you all are thinking from a consumer perspective, so let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button. Be sure and subscribe for new videos here on my channel almost every day. You can follow me on Twitter at JV2017 if you want to stay up to date on my videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you next time.